like.
I'm coming for you, Max.
Right? Stranger Things. The West Memphis Three are three men convicted as teenagers in 1994 of the 1993 murder of three boys in West Memphis, Arkansas, United States, of course. Damien Echols was sentenced to death, Jessie Misskelley Jr. to life imprisonment, plus two 20-year sentences on top of that, and Jason Baldwin to life imprisonment. During the trial, the prosecution asserted that the juveniles killed the children as part of a satanic ritual. Due to the dubious nature of the evidence, as well as the suspected presence of emotional bias in court, the case generated widespread controversy and was the subject of several documentaries. Celebrities and musicians held fundraisers to support efforts to free the West Memphis Three. In July 2007, new forensic evidence was presented. A report jointly issued by the state and defense teams stated, although most of the genetic material recovered from the scene was attributed to victims of the offense, some of it cannot be attributed to either the victims or the defendants. Following a 2010 decision by the Arkansas Supreme Court regarding newly produced DNA evidence and potentially juror misconduct as well, the West Memphis Three negotiated a plea bargain with prosecutors. On August 19, 2011, they entered Alfred pleas. Alfred, please let us go, which allowed them to assert their innocence while acknowledging that prosecutors have enough evidence to convict them in the future, should they decide to. Judge David Laser, badass name, accepted the pleas and sentenced the three to time served. They were released with 10-year suspended sentences, having served 18 years already. And I know that this is a very polarizing topic when it comes to podcast topics, right? A lot of people think like there's a lot of bias, there's a lot of different things like that. I will tell you right now, I don't know anything about this case. The only reason that I know anything about this case was because I was just browsing the internet the other night. Comes to find out that Eddie Munson from Stranger Things is evidently based on Damien Echols. And if you watch the show, storyline-wise, satanic ritual murders, I mean, come on. It's perfect, actually. But yeah, if you haven't seen it yet, what are you doing? You know what I mean? So yeah, I know that is a very polarizing topic. However, I am super, super duper interested in reading about the West Memphis Three. So I hope you guys come along. Today is the first day as we hop into the announcements segment. Don't have a sound bed for that. Maybe we could do something like honk honk announcements. Yes. Welcome back. Today is the first episode with actual video. So hello. Yes, we went out and bought a little not super great setup, but honestly, I was just sick of going and turning all of the audio podcasts into whatever you call them. You know, they got the phasers and the lasers and they're just audio. And I wanted to up it a little bit. Wanted to up the game. We broke 100 subscribers on Cancel Cult Productions YouTube channel. So I think it's time, right? I think it's time. And they just released, anybody can now upload Spotify podcast video as well. So yeah, first episode of the video, welcome along. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're not, well, thank you for listening anyway. If you're over there on Apple or Google or wherever the heck else they are, welcome back to Totally Innocent, the weekly podcast where I learn about a crime, so I can give my honest opinion and honest reaction. Don't have any predetermined bias at all. Yeah, if you're not on YouTube, you can find us on YouTube over there at Cancel Cult Productions just by searching that. You can find us on Facebook at Cancel Cult Productions, and I just added up a new group for Totally Innocent. The group on Facebook is called We Are Totally Innocent. You can search that over on Facebook. You can pop on over, and we can have the chat if the community wants to join up. You can head on over to totallyinnocentpodcast.com to stay up to date on all the latest news. I haven't actually updated that website in about a year, so we'll see what is going on over there with that, but that's an option as well. Yeah. Thank you all for coming to this episode. I know we just released the last two episodes over the past 2 weeks. Kind of like a revisiting was the first episode back of season 2 here. And then we went over Gabby Petito. Case isn't ongoing anymore, and that was one of the last podcast episodes that I left you with, the ongoing case of Gabby Petito. So I wanted to close that out, bookend it, right? Yeah, fantastic. So I think we just do the dang thing here, and we get on over to the crime and the trial. Well, not the crime and the trial. Let's just start the case. Should we just? I think we just start the case. This is your 10-second warning to back out now. Totally Innocent is an explicit podcast full of foul language, gore, sexy details, and other gross things that might be offensive. If that sounds appealing to you, follow along. The show starts now. And that was Totally Innocent HQ. If you're not watching the video, it's like a kind of a spooky tower. That's where I'm located. Totally Innocent HQ. So let's see here. On May 5th, 1993, three 8-year-old boys, Steve Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers, okay, Stranger Things crowd, were reported missing in West Memphis, Arkansas. The first report to the police was made by Byers' adopted father, John Mark Byers, like Jonathan Byers. Like, are you kidding me? Around 7 p.m. The boys were allegedly last seen together by three neighbors, who in affidavit told of seeing them playing together around 6:30 p.m. that evening. They disappeared, and seeing Terry Hobbs, Steve Branch's stepfather, calling them to come home. Initial police searches made that night were limited. Friends and neighbors also conducted a search that night, which included a cursory visit to the location where the bodies were found later on. A more thorough police search for the children began around 8 a.m. on May 6th, led by, Crittenden County search and rescue personnel. Searchers canvassed all of West Memphis, but focused primarily on Robin Hood Hills, where the boys were reported last seen. Despite a shoulder-to-shoulder search of Robin Hood Hills by a human chain, searchers found no sign of the missing boys at that time. Around 1:45 p.m., juvenile parole officer Steve Jones spotted a boy's black shoe floating in a muddy creek that led to a major drainage canal in Robin Hood Hills. A subsequent search of the ditch revealed the bodies of the three boys. They have been stripped naked and were hogtied with their own shoelaces, their right ankles tied to their wrists behind their back. The same with their left arm and legs, also hogtied as well. God damn it. Their clothing was found in the creek. Some of it was twisted around sticks that had been thrust into a muddy ditch bed. The clothing was mostly turned inside out. 2 pairs of boys' underwear were never recovered. Christopher Byers had lacerations to various parts of his body and mutilation on his scrotum and penis. Ooh, man. The autopsies by forensic pathologist Frank J. Peretti indicated that Byers died of multiple injuries, while Moore and Branch died of multiple injuries with drowning. Police initially suspected the boys had been raped. However, later expert testimony disputed this finding. Trace amounts of sperm DNA were found on a pair of pants recovered at the scene. Prosecution experts claim Byers' wounds were the result of a knife attack, and that he had been purposefully castrated by the murderer. Defense experts claim the injuries were most likely the result of post-mortem animal predation. Police believe the boys were assaulted and killed at the location where they were found. Critics argue that the assault, at least, was unlikely to have been occurred at the creek. Interesting. Byers was the only victim with drugs in his system. He was prescribed Ritalin in January of 1993 as part of treatment of an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. The initial autopsy report describes the drug as carbamazepine. I don't know if that's right. And the dosage at a subtherapeutic level. His father said Byers may not have taken the prescription on May 5th, 1993. Let's get to meet the victims here a little bit. Steve Edward Branch, Christopher Byers, and Michael Moore were all second graders at Weaver Elementary School at the time that they were killed. Each had achieved the rank of Wolf, in the local Scout pack, local Cub Scout pack, and they were best friends. Well, that's even more sad. Steve Edward Branch. Steve Branch was the son of Stephen and Pamela Branch, who divorced when he was an infant. His mother was awarded custody and later married Terry Hobbs. Branch was 8 years old, 4 feet 2, weighed 65 pounds, had blonde hair. He was last seen wearing blue jeans and a white t-shirt, riding a black and red bicycle. He was an honor student. He lived with his mother, Pamela Hobbs, his stepfather, Terry Hobbs, and a 4-year-old half-sister, Amanda. Steve Edward Branch is buried at Mount Zion Cemetery in Steele, Missouri. Did Will Byers? Did he have a black and red bike? Stranger Things. I'm just curious. Attention to detail here. You know what I mean? James Michael Moore was the son of Todd and Dana Moore. He was 8 years old, 4 feet 2, weighed 55 pounds, and had brown hair. He was last seen wearing blue pants, a blue Boy Scouts of America shirt, and an orange and blue Boy Scout hat, and riding a light green bicycle. Moore enjoyed wearing his scout uniform even when he was not at meetings. He was considered the leader of the three. He lived with his parents and his 9-year-old sister, Dawn. James Michael Moore is buried in Crittenden Memorial Park Cemetery in Marion, Arkansas. I messed up there. I messed up there. Oh, man. I goofed that up. So Michael Moore is the son of Todd and Dana Moore. Oh, yeah. No, that's right. That's right. I goofed something up along the way here. Christopher Byers, born to Melissa Defer, Rick Murray. His parents divorced when he was 4 years old. Shortly after, his mother married John Mark Byers. Jonathan Byers. Maybe I didn't mess up. Maybe I just forgot to read Christopher Byers. Byers was 8 years old, 4 feet tall, weighed 52 pounds, had light brown hair. He was last seen wearing blue jeans, dark shoes, and wearing white long-sleeve shirt. He lived with his mother, Sharon Melissa Byers, his adopted father, Jonathan Byers. Okay, Duffer Brothers, I'm looking at you. And his stepbrother, Sean Ryan Clark, age 13. According to his mother, Christopher was a typical 8-year-old. He still believed in the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus. Christopher Mark Byers is buried in Forest Hill Cemetery East in Memphis, Tennessee. In 1994, a memorial was erected for the three victims. The memorial located in the playground of Weaver Elementary School in West Memphis, where all three victims were second graders at the time of the crime. In May 2013, for the 20th anniversary of the slayings, why do they call it the slayings? Weaver Elementary School principal Sheila Grissom raised funds to refurbish the memorial. Awesome. Good for you, Sheila. So now that we've met the boys, let's meet the actual West Memphis Three. Baldwin, Echols, and Misskelley. Misskelley is such a weird name to me. I don't understand what the point is, but what the point is. I mean, that's his name, but it's just a goofy name to me. Misskelley. At the time of their arrest, Jessie Misskelley Jr. was 17 years old. Jason Baldwin was 16, and Damien Echols was 18 years old. Baldwin and Echols had previously been arrested for vandalism and shoplifting. Respectively, Misskelley had a reputation for his temper and for engaging in fistfights with other teenagers at school. Misskelley and Echols had dropped out of high school. However, Baldwin earned his grades and demonstrated a talent for drawing and sketching, and he was encouraged by one of his teachers to study graphic design in college. Echols and Baldwin, and then he never got that chance. Echols and Baldwin were close friends, bonded over their similar tastes in music and fiction, and over their shared distaste for the prevailing cultural climate of West Memphis, situated in the Bible Belt. Baldwin and Echols were acquainted with Misskelley from school, but were not close friends with him. Yeah. Echols' family was poor, received frequent visits from social workers. He rarely attended school. He had a girlfriend. He and a girlfriend had run off and later broken into a trailer during a rainstorm. They were arrested, though only Echols was charged with burglary. Echols spent several months in a mental institution in Arkansas and afterwards received full disability status from the Social Security Administration. During Echols' trial, Dr. George W. Woods testified for the defense that Echols suffered from serious mental illness characterized by grandiose and persecutory delusion. auditory and visual hallucinations, disordered thought process, substantial lack of insight, and chronic incapacitating mood swings. At his death penalty sentence hearing, Echols' psychologist reported that months before the murders, Echols had claimed that he had obtained superpowers by drinking human blood. At the time of the arrest, Echols was working part-time with a roofing company and expecting a child with his girlfriend, Damien Echols. Interesting. Chris Morgan and Brian Holland. Let's see. Well, okay. Early in the investigation, the WMPD briefly regarded two West Memphis teenagers as suspects, Chris Morgan and Brian Holland. Both with drug offense histories had abruptly departed from Oceanside, California 4 days after the bodies were discovered. They had abruptly departed for Oceanside, California 4 days after the bodies were discovered. Maybe they had a vacation planned. Morgan was presumed to be at least casually familiar with all three murdered boys, having previously driven an ice cream truck route around their neighborhood. Arrested in Oceanside on May 19, 1993, Morgan and Holland both took polygraph exams. Garbage science, not real. Polygraphs should not be a thing. They took the polygraph exams administered by the California police. Examiners reported that both men's charts indicated deception when they denied involvement in the murders. Ooh, maybe they're not garbage. During subsequent questioning, Morgan claimed a long history of drug and alcohol use, along with blackouts and memory lapses. He claimed that he might have killed the victims, but quickly recanted that part of his statement. California police sent blood and urine samples from Morgan and Holland to WMPD, but there are no indication that WMPD investigated Morgan and Holland as suspects following their arrests in California. Unfucking believable. The relevance of Morgan's recanted statement would later be debated in trial, but it was eventually barred from admission as evidence. That's garbage. That's garbage, because we were talking about up at the very top there, how the DNA at the crime scene didn't match there was some that didn't match the defendants or the victims. What if it was these two idiots? Mr. Bojangles, okay? The sighting of a black male as possible alternative suspect was implied during the beginning of the Misskelley trial. According to West Memphis police officers, on the evening of May 5th, 1993, at 8:42 p.m., workers in the Bojangles restaurant located about a mile from the crime scene in Robin Hood Hills reported seeing a black male who seemed mentally disoriented. Inside the restaurant's ladies' room, that's where they saw him, inside the restaurant's lady room. The man was bleeding and had brushed against the restroom walls. Officer Regina Meeks responded to the call, taking the restaurant manager's report through the eatery drive-through window. By then, the man had left, and police did not enter the restroom on that date. The day after the victims' bodies were found, Bojangles manager Marty King, thinking there was a possible connection from the bleeding man found in the bathroom, reported to the incident to police, who then inspected the ladies' room after that. The man reportedly wore a blue cast-type brace on his arm that had a white Velcro on it, which would have made it difficult to tie up and murder three young boys, evidently. King gave the officers a pair of sunglasses he thought the man had left behind. Detectives took some blood samples from the walls and the tiles of the restroom. Police detective Brian Ridge testified that he later lost those blood scrapings. Absolutely outstanding police work. A hair identified belonging to the black male was later recovered from the sheet wrapped around one of the victims. What the fuck? So we're talking about DNA evidence right there. DNA evidence on the victims right there. Yet it's definitely these guys over here. Interesting. The investigation. Okay, we got some evidence and interviews here. Police officers James Sudbury and Steve Jones felt that the crime had cult overtones. Okay, I don't know if that's playing or not. I can only hope that it is. Cult overtones, and that Damien Echols might be a suspect because he had an interest in occultism. Jones also felt that Echols was capable of murdering children. How do you get that? The police interviewed Echols on May 7th, 2 days after the bodies were discovered. During a polygraph, garbage, examination, he denied any involvement. The polygraph examiner claimed that Echols' chart indicated deception. Uh-oh. On May 9th, during a formal interview with Detective Brian Ridge, Echols mentioned that one of the victims had wounds to his genitals. Law enforcement viewed this knowledge as incriminating at the time. I kind of see that. After a month had passed with little progress in the case, police continued to focus their investigation upon Echols, interrogating him more frequently than any other person, Nonetheless, they claimed that he was not regarded as a direct suspect, but a source of information. On June 3rd, the police interrogated Jessie Misskelley Jr. Despite his reported IQ of 72, bummer, this categorizes him as borderline intellectual functioning. In his status as a minor, Misskelley was questioned alone. His parents were not present during the interrogation. Pretty sure that's not legal. Misskelley's father gave permission for Misskelley to go with the police, but did not explicitly give them permission for his son to be questioned or interrogated without him present. There you go. Misskelley was questioned roughly for 12 hours. Only 2 segments totaling 46 minutes were recorded of that whole 12 hours. Jesus. Kind of sounds to me like you're just looking for something to pin this on at this point. Misskelley quickly recanted his confession, citing intimidation, coercion, fatigue, veiled threats from police. Misskelley specifically said he was scared of the police during his confession. Though he was informed of his Miranda rights, Misskelley later claimed that he did not fully understand them. In 1996, the Arkansas Supreme Court ruled that Kelly's confession was voluntary and that he did, in fact, understand the Miranda warning and its consequences. A portion of Misskelley's statements to the police were leaked to the press, reported on the front page of the Memphis Commercial Appeal before any of the trials began. Shortly after Misskelley's confession, police arrested Echols and his close friend Baldwin. 8 months after his original confession, on February 17th, 1994, Misskelley made another statement to police. His lawyer, Dan Stidham, remained in the room and continually advised Misskelley not to say anything. Misskelley ignored the advice, went on to detail how the boys were abused and murdered. Stidham, who was later elected to a municipal judgeship, had written a detailed critique of what he asserted are major police errors and misconceptions during this investigation. Certainly sounds like it. Stidham made similar comments during a radio show in May 2010. Vicky Hutchison. Vicky Hutchison was a new resident of West Memphis, played an important role in the investigation, though she did later recant her testimony. Interesting. She said that her statements were fabricated and due to coercion from police. It sounds like these police, real pieces of shit. On May 6, 1993, before the victims were found that same day, Hutchison took a polygraph exam by Detective Don Bray at the Marion Police Department to determine whether or not she had stolen money from her West Memphis employer. Hutchison's young son, Aaron, was also present and proved such a distraction that Bray was unable to administer the polygraph. Aaron, a playmate with the murder boys, mentioned to Bray that the boys had been killed at the playhouse. When the bodies proved to have been discovered near where Aaron indicated, Bray asked Aaron for further details, and Aaron claimed that he had witnessed the murders committed by Satanists who spoke Spanish. What the fuck? Aaron's further statement, they were all wildly inconsistent, and he was unable to identify Baldwin, Echols, or Misskelley from photo lineups, and there was no playhouse at the location Aaron indicated. He's an idiot. A police officer leaked portions of Aaron's statement to the press, contributing to the growing belief that the murders were part of a satanic ritual cult. I don't know if that's playing or not. I can only hope that it's playing. On or about June 1st, 1993, Hutchison agreed to police suggestion to place hidden microphones in her home during an encounter with Echols. Misskelley agreed to introduce Hutchison to Echols. During their conversation, Hutchison reported that Echols made no incriminating statements on the tape. Police said the recordings were inaudible, but Hutchison claimed that the recording was audible. The police are just dumb at this point. On June 2nd, 1993, Hutchison told police that about 2 weeks after the murders were committed, she, Echols, and Misskelley attended a Wiccan meeting, like witches and shit, In Terrell, Arkansas, Hutchison claimed that at the Wiccan meeting, a drunken Echols openly bragged about killing the three boys. Misskelley was the first questioned on June 3rd, 1993, a day after Hutchison's purported confession. Hutchison was unable to recall the Wiccan meeting location and did not name any of the participants in the purported meeting. This is getting bananas. Hutchison was never charged with theft. She claims she had implicated Echols and Misskelley to avoid facing criminal charges to obtain a reward for the discovery of the murderers. What the fuck? So it's okay. So we're just going to Wiccan meetings and shit now, dude. Cult. I love it. Yes. So, little bananas, right? So I can see why this case is so polarizing at this point. And again, the whole premise of the show isn't to like deep dive into these cases. It's to simply just read some articles and kind of learn about the case, give you my thoughts and opinions. But one thing that really sticks out to me the most, and I need to not lose my spot here, was how they were talking about in July 2007, new forensic evidence was presented, in that although most of the genetic material recovered from the scene was attributable to the victims of the offense, some of it cannot be attributed to either the victims or the defendants. And then you're talking about this African-American man that you saw, and his hair was found on one of the sheets with the boys' bodies later on. Like, it just seems like a lot of shoddy police work, if you ask me. I don't know. Super weird, I guess. But yeah, we'll discuss the trials and the aftermath and all that stuff now. I apologize. My whole setup here got goofed up. It's not working correctly. However, we can switch it over, and I got a little sound bed here that I hope you guys will enjoy. So let's talk about the trials now, right?
What do you have to say for yourself?
I'm vengeance.
The right one. Now we're here. Okay. This is going to take a second to get used to, man. You know. So yes, let's talk about the trials of this case here. Misskelley was tried separately, and Echols and Baldwin were tried together in 1994. Under the Bretton Rule, Misskelley's confession could not be admitted against his co-defendants. Thus, he was tried separately. All three defendants pleaded not guilty. So in Misskelley's trial, during Misskelley's trial, Richard Offshee, an expert of false confessions and police coercion, and a professor of sociology at UC Berkeley, testified that the brief recording of Misskelley's interrogation was a classic example of police coercion. And it certainly seemed like it, right? I mean, we're talking about we're talking about 12 hours worth of testimony, and only that little amount being there. Crazy. Critics have also stated that Misskelley's various confessions were in many respects inconsistent with each other, as well as with particulars on the crime scene murder victims, including, for example, an admission that Misskelley watched Damien rape one of the boys. Police had initially suspected that the victims had been raped because their anuses were dilated. Gross. However, there were no forensic evidence indicating that the murdered boys had been raped. Dilation of the anus is normal post-mortem condition. On February 5th, 1994, Misskelley was convicted by a jury of 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder. The court sentenced him to life plus 40 years in prison. His conviction was appealed, but the Arkansas Supreme Court affirmed the conviction. Echols and Baldwin. 3 weeks later, Echols and Baldwin went on trial. The prosecution accused the three men of committing satanic murder. Cool. The prosecution called Dale W. Griffiths, a graduate of an unaccredited Columbia Pacific University, as an expert in the occult to testify murders were a satanic ritual. Yeah, sure. On March 19, 1994, Echols and Baldwin were found guilty of 3 counts of murder. The court sentenced Echols to death and Baldwin to life in prison. At trial, the defense team argued that news articles from the time could have been the source of Echols' knowledge about the genital mutilation. Very true. Echols said his knowledge was limited to what was on TV at the time. That makes sense to me. The prosecution claimed that Echols' knowledge was nonetheless too close to the facts. It's like watching a news article, right? This is exactly what happened. And then telling that to police, and then they're like, well, well, hold on. That's a little too close for comfort. Okay. That's a little too much. A little too much. And now I lost my spot here. The prosecutor claimed that Echols' knowledge was nonetheless too close to the facts because he's an idiot, I guess. Since there was no public reporting of drowning or that one of the victims had been mutilated more than the others, Echols testified that Detective Ridge's description of the earlier conversation regarding those particular details was inaccurate, and indeed that some other claim by Ridge were lies. Cool. Mara Leverett, an investigative journalist and the author of Devil's Knot, argues that Echols' information may have come from police leaks, such as Detective Gitchell's comments to Mark Byers, that circulated among local police. Very true. The defense team objected when the prosecution attempted to question Echols about his past violent behaviors, but the defense objections were overruled. Cool. There's aftermath to this, right? Criticism of the investigation, widespread criticism of the handling of this crime in the crime scene by police. Misskelley's former attorney, Dan Stidham, cites multiple substantial police errors at the crime scene, so that's only, great. The bodies, he said, had been removed from the water before the coroner had arrived. Just different things like that. He couldn't even... They did that before he even arrived to determine the state of rigor mortis. This also allowed the bodies to decay on the creek bank, exposed to sunlight, insects, other shit that they probably shouldn't have been. Just terrible negligence on this. And they'd been sitting there for almost 2 hours. That's crazy. Stidham has called the coroner's investigation extremely substandard. There was a small amount of blood found at the scene that was never tested. What? People say this case is so polarizing, and people are extremely biased. But the more that you look into it, the more that you read about it, it certainly just seems like this is a fucking setup. It just doesn't seem right. It just doesn't seem right. Earlier on in the story, there's cases of blood that were never tested or just simply lost. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. According to Leverett, police records were a mess. To call them disorderly would be putting it mildly. Like, it just seems like the police are fucking stupid. And they probably are. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, the Arkansas State Police. Insane. When police speculated about the assailant, the juvenile probation officer assisting at the scene of the murders speculated that Echols was capable of committing the murders, quote unquote, stating it looks like Damien Echols finally killed someone. And that was what they went off of. Wow. Brent Turvey, a forensic scientist and criminal profiler, stated in the film Paradise Lost 2 that human bite marks could have been left on at least one of the victims. However, these potential bite marks were first noticed in photographs years after the trial and were not inspected by board-certified medical examiners. Does nobody pay attention to what the fucking bodies look like? What happened to the bodies and the victims? They just saw like a cult guy and was like, you're gonna go to jail. Okay. So then there were some appeals and some new evidence, it looks like. So let's take a look at that. In May 1994, the three defendants appealed their convictions. The convictions were upheld on direct appeal. In June 1996, Misskelley's lawyer, Dan Stidham, was preparing to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. Then all the way in 2007, Echols petitioned for a retrial based on statute permitting post-conviction testing of DNA evidence due to technological advances made since 1994. And that should have happened, which might provide exoneration for the wrongfully convicted. The petition failed when the original trial judge, David Burnett, disallowed presentation of the information in his court. This ruling was in turn thrown out by Kansas Supreme Court as to the three defendants on November 4th, 2010. Why the fuck would you just deny somebody the right to a retrial because of technological advancements? If you're so confident that the man did it, just run the fucking DNA evidence and do the retrial. Unless you're concerned about it, unless you're concerned that there was some sort of, missteps in the case, if there was some sort of police mishandling or police misconduct of the whole fucking thing. Kind of bananas to me. John Mark Byers' knife. Jonathan Byers. John Mark Byers, the adopted father of the victim Christopher Byers, gave a knife to cameraman Doug Cooper, who was working on the documentary makers Joe Berlinger and Bruce Sinofsky were filming the first Paradise Lost feature. The knife was a folding hunting knife manufactured by Kershaw. According to the statements given to Berlinger and Sinofsky, Cooper informed them of his receipt of the knife on December 19, 1993, after the documentary crew returned to New York. They reported to have discovered what appeared to be blood on the knife. HBO executives ordered them to return the knife to West Memphis Police Department. The knife was not received at the West Memphis Police Department until January 8th, 1994. Byers initially claimed that the knife had never been used. However, after blood was found on the knife, Byers stated that he had used it only once to cut deer meat. When told the blood matched both his and Chris's blood type, Byers said he had no idea how the blood might have gotten on the knife. During interrogation, West Memphis police suggested to Byers that he might have let the knife out accidentally, and Byers agreed with this. West Memphis police suggested to Byers that he might have, maybe you let the knife out on accident, yeah? And he agreed to this. Byers later stated that he may have cut his thumb, further testing out the knife's produced inclusion results for whatever the fuck. Okay, and because both John Byers and Chris Byers had the same genotype, his blood was showing up, so he might have cut his thumb, I guess. The DNA match was there, but he cut his thumb maybe. I don't know. Byers agreed to and passed a polygraph test, however, about the murders during the filming of Paradise Lost 2 Revelations, but the documentary indicated that Byers was under the influence of several psychoactive prescription medications that could have affected the test results. Was it Byers? God, I wish we could know. I really wish we could know, man, because it was like when we were sitting here and we were talking about the Oklahoma Girl Scout murders, and I said for 95% certain that Gene Hart is the one who did it. And then with the new DNA evidence, we were determined that it was most likely the person that did it. Turns out. So, win for me. Yeah, maybe it was John Byers. Interesting. I like it. Possible teeth imprints, okay? Following their convictions, Echols, Misskelley, and Baldwin submitted imprints of their teeth. These were compared to the alleged bite marks on Steve Branch's forehead, and this was some odd time after the incident happened, years after. No matches were found. So weird. You got bite marks in your head, and the potential suspects don't match. Weird. John Mark Byers had his teeth removed in 1997 after his first trial, but before an imprint could be made. Wait, what now? These were compared to the alleged bite marks on Steve Branch's forehead that had not been mentioned in the original autopsy or trial. No matches were found. John Mark Byers had his teeth removed in 1997 after the first trial, but before an imprint could be made. His stated reasons for the removal are you fucking kidding me? His stated reason for the removal are apparently contradictory. He has claimed both that the seizure medication he was taking caused periodontal disease, and that he planned the removal because of other kind of dental problems, which had troubled him for years. After an expert examined autopsy photos and noted that he might be the imprint of a belt buckle, that there might be an imprint of a belt buckle on Byers' corpse. I'm getting all tongue-tied now. The elder Byers revealed to police that he had spanked his stepson shortly before the boy disappeared. So we're collecting teeth imprints. Craziest story, if you ask me. I just got them removed. I just got all my teeth removed, right? I mean, I knew that you were gonna have me do it, but I just got them all removed because I've been having issues for years, and also I just wanted to. What the fuck, dude? This is sounding more and more like a Jonathan Byers might be involved in this. In October 2003, Vicky Hutchison, remember this bitch, the liar, said that Echols totally did this. They went to the Wiccan meeting. Vicky Hutchison, who had played part in the arrest of Misskelley, Echols, and Baldwin, gave an interview at the Arkansas Times, in which she stated that every word that she had given police was a fabrication. She further asserted that the police had implied that if she did not cooperate with them, they would take away her child. That's a little... Actually, no. I was going to say that's a little far-fetched, but with these police, not really. Not really. In 2007, DNA collected from the crime scene was tested. None was found to match the DNA of Echols, Baldwin, or Misskelley Jr. A hair not consistent with Steve Branch's stepfather, Terry Hobbs, was found tied in the knots used to bind the victims. The prosecutor... Was that the hair from the African-American man in the beginning? Prosecutors, while conceding that no DNA evidence tied the accused to the crime scene, said the state stands behind the convictions of Echols and his co-defendants. Confendants, what the fuck? Pamela Hobbs' May 5th, 2009 declaration in the United States District Court, Eastern District of Arkansas, Western Division, indicates that one hair was consistent with the hair of Terry's friend, David Jacoby. I don't know what that means. Additionally, after the murders, my sister, Jo Lynn McCarthy, and I found in Terry's nightstand a knife that Steve carried with him constantly and which he believed was with him when he died. It was a pocket knife that my father had given to Steve, and Stevie loved that knife. Also, my sister, Jo Lynn, told me that she saw Terry wash clothes, bed linens, and Steve. I don't know what this has to do with anything. Yeah. In July 2008, it was revealed that Kent Arnold, the jury foreman on the Echols-Baldwin trial, had discussed the case with the attorney prior to the beginning of deliberation. Arnold was accused of advocating for the guilt of the West Memphis Three and sharing knowledge of inadmissible evidence, like Jessie Misskelley's statements that he had made with other jurors, right? The ones that were allegedly coerced from police. At the time, legal experts agreed that this issue could result in the reversal of the convictions of Jason Baldwin and Damien Echols, and it goddamn well should have. September 2008, attorney, now Judge Daniel Stidham, who represented Misskelley in 1994, testified at a post-conviction relief hearing. Stidham testified under oath that during the trial, Judge David Burnett erred by making an improper communication with the jury during deliberations. Does nobody know how to do anything in this area? In October 29, 2007, papers were filed with the federal court by Echols' defense lawyers seeking a retrial or for his immediate release. The filing cited the DNA evidence that did not, link him there at all. On September 10th, 2008, Circuit Court Judge David Burnett denied the request for retrial, citing DNA tests as inconclusive. You piece of shit. Arkansas Supreme Court ruling in 2010, November 4th, 2010, ordered a lower judge to consider whether newly analyzed DNA evidence might exonerate the three. The justices also instructed the lower court to examine claims of misconduct by the jurors who sentenced Damien Echols to death and Jessie Misskelley and Jason Baldwin to life in prison. In early December 2010, David Burnett was elected to the Arkansas State Senate. Circuit Court Judge David Laser was selected to replace Burnett and presided in the evidentiary hearings mandated by the successful appeal. Good. After weeks of negotiation, on August 19, 2011, Echols, Baldwin, and Misskelley were released from prison as part of a plea deal, making the hearings ordered by the Arkansas Supreme Court unnecessary. The three entered into an unusual Alfred plea deal. The Alford plea is a legal mechanism that allows defendants to plead guilty while still asserting their actual innocence. In cases where defendants concede, the prosecutors have sufficient evidence to secure a conviction. Stephen Braga, an attorney with Ropes and Gray, who took up Echols' defense on a pro bono basis beginning in 2009, negotiated the plea deal with prosecutors. Very weird. Under the deal, Judge David Laser vacated the previous convictions, including the capital murder convictions of Echols and Baldwin, and ordered a new trial. Each man then entered the Alford plea to a lesser charge of first, second-degree murder, verbally stating their innocence. Judge Laser then sentenced them to time served, a total of 18 years and 78 days, and they were each given a suspended imposition of sentence for 10 years. Then they got out. And they made a fuck ton of documentaries about it. Right? Paradise Lost. The Child Murders at Robin Hills. Paradise Lost 2. Revelations. Paradise Lost 3. Purgatory. Wow. Yeah, so it is extremely culty, right? I can see why they based Eddie Munson on Damien Echols. Absolutely. It makes sense. I'm not sure what else we really have here. On August 19, 2011, Echols, along with Baldwin and Misskelley, entered the Alford plea while asserting their innocence. Judge sentenced them to 18 years, 78 days. Echols' sentence was reduced by 3 counts of first-degree murder. Lawyers representing the West Memphis Three reached the plea deal. They were fully continued to so they're out. They're continuing to pursue full exoneration, as they should. I can totally see. Actually, I can't even see why this is polarizing. Why people say, "Oh, people are so biased for just agreeing with them." What the fuck do you mean, dude? Did you hear any of this shit? The gross police misconduct was terrible, absolutely terrible. Echols relocated to Salem, Massachusetts, with his wife. Has no intentions of returning to Arkansas. I wouldn't either. Fucking crazy. In an interview with Piers Morgan, he said that he would like to have a career writing and in visual arts. Echols self-published the memoir Almost Home, My Life Story, Volume 1 in 2005 while still in prison. After his release, he worked on a number of additional media products. Cool. He's done some music, some art, spoken word, written works, television, provided the voice of Daryl F. Fishman in episode 3 of an animated Netflix series, The Midnight Gospel, in 2020. So they're out. They're out and it's done. But yeah, man, holy cow. Just the absolute just grossness of it is bananas. Bananas. I can't believe that I can't believe how many times evidence was lost or just not checked. I can't believe how many people claim to be coerced by the police to get a confession. It's just kind of that. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. Man. That is the case of the West Memphis Three. All of them are out now. Looks like Echols is out doing some art, and that's fantastic. It's great. Again, don't understand why this is so controversial. There should be bias, I think, in this case. It's just bananas. It seemed like they were just trying to pin it on him the entire time. I don't know. But then again, like I said, I know nothing about the case. We don't super deep dive. We just go and learn the basics of it, and I give my full unadulterated reaction. And that's how it's always been. That's how it always will be. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Totally Innocent. If you did, consider heading on over to Facebook and searching We Are Totally Innocent. Let's have a conversation over there. You can like the page, Cancel Cult Productions at Facebook. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Cancel Cult Productions, by searching Cancel Cult Productions over there. If you want to send anything into the show, you can send an email to cancelcultproductions@gmail.com, and we'll read it on the show. We will read it on the show. I forgot to do that this week, so next week we'll do a couple of them. How about that? Sound good? I don't know who we're going to do next week, but we're going to do somebody giggity. I was going to do the Uvalde shooting this week. However, I feel like that's a little polarizing, right? I think I want to wait on that one a little bit till some more stuff comes out, right? Not because I don't think it's a tragedy or it didn't happen the way that it happened, because I definitely think it did. And you want to talk about police misconduct? Holy fuck, that's a prime example. But I'm just not ready for it yet, if that makes sense. But we'll do some, buddy, and I'll figure that out, and then we'll come back and we'll do it. Hope you enjoyed the video format. I will see you next Wednesday. Take care.